Yeah, well, we'll see. So now transitioning over to the Eagles, we mentioned them unfortunately, and
Trending down.
we're gonna have to bring them up again 3 weeks in a row. No, we're not Eagles fans. We're polar opposite. We hope they lose every single week for different reasons, but um, I'm gonna let you take this one away because I think you and I have kind of opposite ideas of this team, and the topic of conversation is: did the Niners break the Eagles? Are they trending down, like you said?
Um, Here's the thing. The Seahawks almost beat the Cowboys. They played
Mm-hmm.
them really, really well. The Seahawks are a very, very well coached team. They lack the elite level talent that puts them at the top of the NFC, but they're a very good team. So the fact that they beat the Eagles is not entirely surprising. I'm not surprised by the fact that they beat the Eagles, considering the Eagles had won some miracle games during their winning streak. They kept being down at halftime. Then the 49ers came out and busted the brakes off of them. And then the Cowboys came out and followed the same script and said, hey, you know what? You guys beat us the first time, but it's because of 1 inch on a catch here and 1 inch on a foot here. Otherwise, we
Mm-hmm.
would have beat you there. So I'm not entirely surprised at what happened. What I am surprised, first of all, when you fire a defensive coordinator midweek and make Matt Patricia your defense coordinator, I don't know what the hell's going on there. That's a big, big red flag to me. And then they're just like, oh, yeah, no, he's still around. This is the second time in like 3 years, mid-season, the GM of the Eagles, who I have a ton of respect for, I think he's awesome, has stripped somebody of play calling duties. And last time it was Sirianni, and he gave him to Shane Steichen. And as I've said before, I think if they could have, they would have kept Shane Steichen as their head coach and got rid of Sirianni because he doesn't do anything. But they've now taken the defensive coordinator position and given it to Matt Patricia, which I think is stupid because their defense isn't any good. It's just
Mm.
not. They got it. They got the defensive line. Their corners suck. Their safeties aren't great. Their middle linebacker play is suspicious. But Jackson Smith and Jigba burning Bradbury in the coverage he was in, not surprising at all. That dude's a
Mm.
hell of a talent. But what are we doing? What are the Eagles doing? What is that play call? You got Elliott. Again, he's been on my fantasy team all year. He's been amazing all year. I think he's probably second to the Cowboys kicker and how good
Yeah.
he's been this year. And
Yep.
you have to go 12 yards. You have to go 12 yards. You have to go maybe 15 yards. If you go 20 yards, it's a layup for Elliott. You're going overtime. And your decision making is to huck that ball deep. Now, the defender, my God, Julian Love, he made a
Yes.
hell of a play. That was amazing. And I'm not trying to sit here and root here for the Seahawks. I'm not. I don't want to root for the Seahawks. I want them to lose every game unless they're playing, somebody like this. Hell of a play. What are you throwing that ball for, Jalen? Like, first of all, if that's the play call, it can't be the play call. There's no way that's the play call. But if it is, what are we doing? And then why are you throwing it? You don't have to get it all there. 12 yards, let your Pro Bowl kicker kick the field goal and go into overtime. You can't beat the Seahawks in overtime. Everything that's happened the past couple of weeks has been confusing. Now, the 49ers came out and smashed them in the mouth. They had no chance. But I'm watching them against the Cowboys. I needed them to lose against the Cowboys so the 49ers could get the 1 seed. And everything that's happening on the TV, I'm just like, what the hell are they doing? Like, none of this makes sense. Like, you know what the Cowboys are good at? CeeDee's in the slot. They got an explosive running back. Their tight end is untouchable. What are we doing defensively and offensively here? If I was an Eagles fan and I woke up after that loss, I'd be thinking, like, is Jalen the answer? We have 16 holes on our defense and there's only 11 players. And how can we not? I would be very frustrated if I was an Eagles fan and watched back-to-back weeks of offenses the 49ers run and the Cowboys run and how they move everything around and how they get their players wide ass open. And then Devontae Smith is just like, we're just going to send them on go routes all day. Like, why can't AJ Brown do the Debo Samuel thing? He's huge. Like, you can't get him some pop passes. Instead, you're just lofting the ball up to him. I'll be honest with you. You know what the word is? I'm on a 15-minute rant here. It's uninspired. They're playing uninspired football. I think they know the Cowboys are better than them. I think they know the 49ers are better than them. And I think they know that they squeaked by last year in the playoffs. It just doesn't seem uninspired. It doesn't look like a football team that's ready to take the next step. And when you can't get your team ready to play football, because there was, again, try not to mention that too much, the 49ers, the Cardinals were coming off of a bye week. Their two all-pro defensive tackles were hurt. We have massive injuries all over the place. and the 49ers came out and smashed the Cardinals. That's a team that's ready to go. I think the Cowboys are coming out next week and making a statement against the Dolphins. That's a team that's ready to go. What are the Eagles doing?
Yeah, and I think especially as a Cowboys fan, we get very quickly demoralized week to week because we lose to the teams that we're not supposed to lose to. Or when we do lose to a team that's supposed to be competitive, we get decimated. And that's what's really frustrating about being a Cowboys fan is we will smash people in the mouth and it's like, great, it feels awesome. Like, let's kind of pump the brakes a little bit though. Obviously, the stereotypical Cowboys fans will get uppity and they'll say we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm not one of those people. I'm very much a pessimist with my own team, especially the past couple of years getting trounced in the playoffs by the Niners, or the last second stuff with the Niners has been demoralizing. So it's kind of made me pump the brakes completely over the last couple of years. But what we do is when we do lose to a team like the Niners, right? What do we do after that? We go on a run that says, hey, like we're getting our confidence back and we're hitting people in the mouth immediately after. When it comes to the Eagles, they lose to you guys. So you would expect, just kind of like the Cowboys, them to come out and play us hard, fast, just like how we would when we lost against you guys. But they didn't. Just like you said, they come down, they're down at halftime again, they're getting beat up and the game's not close. And then you would expect, okay, well, you have an easier opponent than the Cowboys and the Niners, and it should be relatively competitive. And then on top of that, their starting quarterback is out and you get beat again. It is really demoralizing as not just a fan, but it's demoralizing as a team as well, right? Those individual players, I think it's about confidence. And obviously coaching goes in part with some of that stuff. And if you can't pull in the reins to this team within this week, I think they are on the downtrend. But as it sits right now, I find it to be, and I know it's 3 weeks in a row, and I just think it's temporary and they'll be fine in the playoffs. But if my entire opinion will change if they lose next week. If they lose next week, that means you don't have the team at all, and you're gonna lose in the playoffs. Absolutely.
They're pretty lucky. They have I don't know, the NFL left them a lip. They got the Giants,
Mm-hmm.
and the Cardinals, I think.
Yep.
Don't sleep on the Cardinals, man. Kyler Murray is pretty good. I don't expect them to not beat the Giants. Matter of fact, I expect them to do what that second tier teams do against the Giants. I expect them to come out and smash them. I feel a little bit bad for the Dolphins. I think it's a bad card they drew, having to play the Cowboys a week after they got absolutely embarrassed on the
Mm-hmm.
road. You know, Cowboys point differential on the road this year is +3. And I think it's like +90 at home. They're 4-5 or 3-4 or something on the road. So that's a different situation. Going to Buffalo ain't easy. That's why we want the number 1 seed, right? Because we don't want to go to Philly in January. We don't want to go to Detroit in January. We want to play at home. So the Eagles, to me, that's suspicious. I know that's one of my favorite things to say, but that's super suspicious, man. Why? I don't know why you're hucking that ball deep there. You needed 12 yards, not 50. None of that made sense. And the Seahawks traded for Drew Lock, thinking, you know what, man, we lost Russ. We're going to trade for this young kid. We're going to rehab him. It's going to be good. And within like 5 minutes, they said, you know what, you're just like Matt Flynn. We're going to go with Geno Smith here. And he hasn't played at all. So for him to come out and beat that Eagles team, that's embarrassing, man. Honestly,
that's more since 2020.
That's more embarrassing than what happened to the Chargers. Like, I think it's suspicious, and the mystique of the Eagles and what they were doing and how they kept winning those last second that's been smashed. Nobody's afraid of the Eagles. That doesn't mean they can't win. The playoffs are a different animal, and somebody tweaks an ankle or someone gets a hamstring pull, and next thing you know, things get crazy. But if we just take all the teams at full health, the Eagles got to come to Santa Clara. I don't think the 49ers are worried. If they got to come to Dallas, I don't think the Cowboys are worried. So
yeah,
you and me are worried because we're fans and we want our teams to win. We don't want to watch them lose.